everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Kyary Pamyu Pamyu album, Nandacollection. Kyary Pamyu Pamyu is a Japanese blogger, singer, model, pop star. One of the biggest pop stars over there right now thanks to her hit singles, her quirky aesthetic that is so eye and ear catching that she's caught quite a bit of attention over here in the West as well. Now if you're really going to talk about Kyary's music seriously, you can't really go without mentioning Yasutaka Nakata, a multi-project songwriter, producer, and DJ who has been working in the Japanese music industry for years. And even though he is well known for working with Kyary, this is not the first time he's produced music for a female Japanese pop star. It just so happens that Kyary is one of the more bold faces in Japanese pop music that he's worked with so far. And I don't just mean in terms of her clothing and the visual aesthetics that come in her music videos. I mean, that is an entirely different video review in itself. I'm getting so sweaty.
I got you covered, buddy!
Thank you. I actually think Kyary's music by itself qualifies as being pretty eccentric within that Japanese pop music realm. Now, Japanese pop music is typically characterized as being pretty upbeat, bouncy, very bright as well. These are typically the things that people notice first about it, aside from the language barrier and the very youthful voices of the singers in this genre. And all of those characteristics definitely show up on Nandacollection, except I would say that Yasutaka and Kyary up the ante with some very creative, colorful, and sometimes zany sounds and instrumentation. Some of the keyboard sounds and synths on Nandacollection are so silly that at times it kind of feels like J-pop's answer to Pee-wee's Playhouse. What I just want to say to you is that when you listen to this LP, don't be quick to assume that what's going on here is just normal for the genre and that it's just sort of run-of-the-mill. That sort of conclusion is easy to jump to when, one, there is a language barrier, and two, you're really disconnected from the culture that the music comes from, which is so far outside of the context that you're currently living in. When you give a listen to this record and you're asking yourself, why does it sound so hyper and colorful and fun? Well, I mean, it sounds like all those things because it actually is all those things. It's not like there's any kind of secret code or anything going on here, as far as I can tell. Another assumption I would be pretty hesitant to make is that Kyary is essentially Japan's answer to Lady Gaga. For one, Kyary is not the first eccentrically dressed person from Japan, and even though Lady Gaga has been known to wear some pretty weird outfits, I personally, though I do enjoy some of her older stuff, don't really see a lot of that eccentricity bleed into her music. I actually see many of the tracks on Nandacollection as being even more experimental than the songs from Kyary's previous album, which really helped her break into the Japanese musical mainstream. The song Invader, Invader, one of the bigger singles off of this LP and one of my favorite tracks too, feels like a song that was composed by J-pop robots from another planet, presenting these really wonky synthesizer melodies. This one portion in the song that feels like a dubstep drop, it happens for like 5 seconds, although it's not really heavy and abrasive and overwhelming like most dubstep drops. It's actually kind of small and cute and tiny and farty. I actually see it as more of a self-aware, playful reference to dubstep music than it is an attempt to try to cross over to dubstep fans. Outside of that, I'm loving the zany vocal melodies all over this track. Whoa, 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 yeah, yeah, whoa. And the song Me is incredibly fun and playful and just ridiculous with its vocal melody. Me, 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 me. For some reason, like when I hear this song, I imagine some kind of dance going on that involves this. Again, we've got another melody that feels very oriental, feels much older than the record that it's being presented on, but the sounds, the groove, and all the instrumentation, it feels very modern, it feels hyper colorful. This song feels like nighttime, people out in the streets having a fun time eating, laughing, talking. It's just a party, and that's what I love about a lot of tracks on this LP. Even as some of the moments on here get even more eccentric with some odd piano melodies, and one track toward the end of this thing something that feels kind of polka inspired. My one letdown on this LP is that there are a handful of songs that feel maybe a little too straightforward, a little too towing that J-pop line to feel special or even memorable. The beats and the melodies on tracks like Saigo no Ice Cream, as well as Kimi ni 100%, maybe these songs to me are some of the least distinct on the LP. There's actually a Capsule cover on here as well, Capsule being a musical project that Yasutaka was involved with before he was involved with Kyary, which is a hell of a tune. It's really melodic and it's really fun, but again, not one of the more interesting tracks for me sonically or instrumentally, especially with the very cheesy, slightly jazzy synth trumpet playing throughout this song too. Still, even though I'm not head over heels for the sounds that these songs are presenting, for the most part, I still enjoyed them to an extent. I'm not really disliking much of anything on this LP, to be completely honest. Track for track for track, we're talking about really sharp melody writing that is so sticky, is just so infectious that I think it really transcends the language barrier thing for me, at least personally. Tons of incredibly vibrant sounds and synthstrumentation, and a variety of tracks that present different modes of playfulness and weirdness. I would not say at all that this record is for ironic enjoyment or should be enjoyed from the perspective of, oh, this is just different because it's not from my country, so on and so forth. Personally, I see this record as kind of being like a gigantic layer cake that is taller than me, maybe clearing my head by 5 feet, and I have been given permission to just literally dive in and eat as much of it as I want. Maybe after eating a few slices conservatively on a plate, I would just stick my face in it and go, "Raw." Even if there are a handful of songs on here that I'm just a little on the fence with. I'm feeling a strong 7 to a light 8 on this thing. If you've given it a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Hate it? Why? And that's it. This review is my opinion. If you don't like it, here's a straw. I want to give a shout out to Vic Mensa, Chuck Strangers, Dave Reynolds, Dominique, and AZEALIA Banks. AZEALIA, you forgot your tweet. Where did this go? Where did this go?
I guess that tweet got deleted.
Only the strong subscribe. All mistakes were intentional. Anthony Fantano, Kyary Pamyu Pamyu, forever.